You may believe you are living freely, making choices in the present moment, but the truth is more mysterious. Much of your life unfolds inside a repeating cycle, a loop not of time, but of self. Thoughts, emotions, choices, and outcomes recycle themselves endlessly, creating an invisible program beneath your awareness. Neuroscience reveals that around 95% of your daily actions and decisions are directed not by conscious intention, but by subconscious programming. This means that you wake up repeating the same thoughts, feeling the same emotions, and responding to life in the same familiar patterns, as though destiny were already decided. But what you call destiny is not some external force at play. It is memory, and memory is the anchor of the loop. Imagine this for a moment. Two people walk into the same room at the same time. One feels anxious and threatened, preparing to defend themselves. The other feels calm, safe, and curious. Both breathe the same air and look at the same surroundings, but their experience is entirely different. Why? Because neither of them is seeing the room as it is. Each is perceiving reality through the lens of their subconscious conditioning. The first sees through a loop of past pain, while the second sees through a loop of safety and openness. This is why the same arguments return in your relationships. This is why financial struggles resurface, even when you momentarily escape them. This is why your deepest dreams feel far away, while your daily emotions remain familiar and repetitive. None of this is happening because you are broken or cursed. It is happening because you are entangled with your own unconscious repetition, replaying the same inner film over and over. Quantum physics sheds light on this mystery. Reality exists as waves of infinite possibility until an observer focuses upon it. The moment of observation collapses the wave into a particle, into form. Your life, then, is simply the repeated collapse of the same possibilities, over and over, because you continue to observe reality through the lens of your past experiences. This is the loop you cannot see. It is not the universe punishing you, nor some external law holding you back. Reality is a mirror, reflecting your state of being until you choose to direct your observation differently. Think of your subconscious mind as a projector in an old theater. The film reel is your memory, and each day you sit in the same seat, watching the same movie, crying at the same scenes, wishing for a different ending. Yet the reel has not changed. The movie plays because you allow the projector to run. Here lies the paradox. Nothing outside of you is truly keeping you stuck. It is not time, it is not fate. It is you, collapsing the same version of yourself into existence again and again. But here is the liberating truth. The moment you recognize the loop, it begins to lose its power. Awareness disrupts repetition. When you can see the cycle, you can choose differently. Transformation does not begin by fighting against the loop. It begins by awakening to it. Once you realize that you have been the observer collapsing the same past into the same future, you awaken to something extraordinary. If you can collapse one loop, you can collapse another. And for the first time, possibility opens before you. Not the recycled energy of who you've always been, but the living, breathing creation of who you are willing to become. What if time isn't moving forward at all? What if the straight line you've been taught to follow, past, present, future, is not a highway stretching endlessly forward, but a circle folding endlessly back upon itself? The truth is, you are not walking through time. Time is moving through you. Neuroscience reveals that the brain does not distinguish between a memory vividly recalled and an experience freshly lived. Both ignite the same neural pathways, releasing the same chemical signals in the body. In other words, when you replay the pain of yesterday, you collapse your biology into the same past reality, even though the moment is long gone. And when you project fear into the future, your body reacts as if the threat is already here. To your subconscious, time is not a line. It is a cycle, looping endlessly until you decide to break it. Quantum physics offers a deeper reflection. In the field of infinite possibility, past and future coexist simultaneously as waves, waiting for the observer's focus to collapse them into form. You believe you are remembering the past, but in truth, you are reactivating one version of it again and again. You believe you are anticipating the future, but really you are entangling with one potential timeline, giving it more and more energy until it manifests. Time, then, is not moving forward. It is circling back to whatever frequency you continue to embody. Think of it like a song on repeat. At first you may listen unconsciously, humming along without noticing. But eventually you realize the track has been looping for hours. Your emotions work the same way. If you wake up anxious, the anxiety calls in thoughts that match, choices that reinforce it, and outcomes that prove it. And then tomorrow the same song plays again. Different day, same rhythm. Until awareness enters, the cycle continues. Consider this example. Two people lose their jobs on the same day. One collapses into despair, replaying every memory of failure from the past, attaching themselves to a loop of lack and defeat. The other feels the sting of uncertainty, but then chooses to view the moment as an opening, a chance to align with a new reality. The same event, but two entirely different timelines unfold. Why? Because time is not dictating their future. Their identity is. One stays bound to the loop of who they've been. The other steps into a new frequency and collapses a different possibility. This is why your dreams often feel distant, always out there in the future. The future you're waiting for already exists, but your present identity keeps you tethered to the same loop. The past is not behind you, and the future is not ahead. They are both here, waiting in the field. You are the one who decides which loop repeats and which loop breaks. So here is your invitation. Stop walking in circles. Recognize the song you've been replaying. See how your body has been living in yesterday and how your mind has been fearing tomorrow. Once you realize time is not linear, you discover something extraordinary. The future you long for is not a distant horizon. It is a frequency already alive within you. And the moment you shift your state of being, the cycle breaks and a new reality emerges. Every moment is a doorway, every breath is a decision point, and every choice you make is a slit through which reality passes. In the famous double-slit experiment, particles behave like waves of infinite possibility until they are observed. The very act of observation collapses the wave into a particle, a singular path chosen out of endless potential. This is not just physics in a laboratory, this is your life. Each thought, each emotion, each belief is an act of observation. Each moment, you collapse one version of reality while leaving countless others untouched. Here's the paradox. When you recycle the same thoughts and emotions as yesterday, you are observing your life through the same lens. You collapse the same outcome again and again. This is why life feels predictable. This is why the loop continues. But when you choose to see with fresh awareness, when you step into presence rather than memory, you interact with reality differently. Suddenly, the wave opens. Suddenly, a new particle forms. Consider this. Two people stand in the same crowded room. One feels invisible, convinced no one notices them. Their body tenses, their face withdraws, and reality reflects that belief back to them. No one approaches. The other walks in with an open heart, with the frequency of connection. Their smile invites conversation, their presence draws others in. The same room, the same people, but two different slits of choice. One collapses loneliness, the other collapses belonging. You are not trapped by your environment. You are interacting with the field, moment by moment, through the lens of your state of being. What you call reality is not fixed. It is fluid, responsive, waiting. Every thought you nurture, every emotion you embody, every decision you lean into, they are all observations, collapsing one outcome over another. This is why your life has felt like repetition. Not because reality has no other possibilities, but because you keep observing the same frequency with the same identity. You've been a scientist locked in one experiment, running the same test, producing the same results. But you can step into another experiment. You can choose differently, and the field will answer. The truth is this: you are the observer and the observed. The slit is not outside of you. It is your awareness, and the universe does not decide for you. It mirrors the choice you collapse. So pause. Feel this moment. Ask yourself, from which slit are you observing? From fear or from love? From memory or from possibility? From lack or from wholeness? Every time you choose presence over the past, you activate a different wave. You collapse a different future. And here is the awakening. You are not bound to repeat the same experiment. You are free to step into a new field. The double slit of choice is open before you. With awareness, with intention, with presence, you can collapse the particle of a reality you have never lived before. Your emotions are not accidents. They are signals. They are frequencies. And whether you realize it or not, those frequencies are tuning you into specific versions of reality. Think of your life like a radio. Infinite stations exist in the field, but you can only hear the one you're tuned to. Fear, shame, resentment. These are stations that broadcast the same song on repeat. Gratitude, love, joy. These are stations that open entirely new channels of possibility. The song you hear is not random. It is selected by the frequency of your emotional state. Neuroscience tells us that emotions are chemical feedback loops. A thought triggers a feeling. That feeling produces more thoughts in harmony with it, and soon you're caught inside a loop. Quantum physics mirrors this truth. Your emotions are not just private sensations. They are vibrational signatures interacting with the field. You are both sending and receiving, collapsing reality according to the frequency you embody. Here's the truth. You have been replaying the past, not because life demands it, but because your emotions keep you anchored there. When you carry resentment, you collapse timelines that echo betrayal. When you live in fear, you select futures that mirror danger. The emotion is the lock, and the loop becomes the cage. Picture this. Two people lose their job on the same day. One spirals into despair, convinced life is against them. Their emotion of hopelessness locks them into choices that reflect defeat. They procrastinate, they miss opportunities, they collapse into scarcity. The other feels the fear too, but chooses gratitude for the freedom to start again. Their frequency shifts. Suddenly, they notice openings others ignore. They meet someone who introduces a new path, and within months, their life expands in ways they could never have predicted. The same event, two different frequencies, two different timelines. Your emotions are the fork in the road, and every time you rehearse the same emotional state, you broadcast the same signal into the field, calling in experiences that match it. Life is not punishing you. It is mirroring the station you are tuned to. So how do you change it? First, you must notice. Observe the emotional current that dominates your day. Is it frustration? Is it fear? Is it gratitude? Then you choose differently. You can interrupt the cycle with a breath, with a moment of presence, with a thought that shifts your internal chemistry. Even a small pivot in emotion creates a different vibration, and that vibration collapses a new particle of reality. Joe Dispenza teaches that gratitude is the ultimate frequency of creation because it assumes the future is already here. Gratitude tunes your heart into coherence, opening the field to higher possibilities. It is not just a feeling. It is an act of alignment with realities that already exist, waiting for you to collapse them. And here is the awakening. You are not trapped by your emotions. You are guided by them. They are not punishments, they are portals. And when you shift your frequency, you do not just feel different. You step into a different version of yourself, and with it, a different version of reality. You are not living your life. You are living your memory. Most of what you call you is not conscious choice, but subconscious repetition. 95% of your thoughts, emotions, and actions today are the same as yesterday. The subconscious is not evil, it is efficient. It is a feedback machine designed to keep you safe, but in doing so, it keeps you stuck. Neuroscience reveals this truth clearly. The subconscious mind is programmed between the ages of 0 and 7 when your brain waves move in theta, the trance-like state of hypnosis. During those years, you absorbed patterns from parents, culture, and environment. You did not choose these programs, they chose you. And unless you awaken, you spend the rest of your life rehearsing someone else's script. Think of it like this. Every morning you wake up, your body remembers who you were yesterday. You recall the same problems, the same emotions, the same complaints. Those emotions signal the same thoughts, and those thoughts generate the same chemical reactions without awareness. Your brain is a closed loop of past experience, collapsing reality into the same future. You believe you are making choices, but you are simply replaying code. Here's the paradox. The subconscious cannot tell the difference between reality and imagination. This is your prison and your freedom. It means that when you visualize a new future, when you emotionally feel it as if it has already happened, you are rewriting the program. Conscious imagination becomes subconscious identity. Joe Dispenza teaches this with precision. To break the habit of being yourself, you must step beyond the familiar emotions of the past and create new neural pathways in the present. You stop identifying with survival programs of fear, guilt, and lack, and instead install feelings of abundance, safety, and love. You literally teach your body a new future. Consider this real-life example. Two people both grow up in homes where money was scarce. One unconsciously inherits the program of scarcity. They hoard, they fear, they sabotage opportunities. The other notices the program, interrupts it, and chooses to condition their mind with thoughts of wealth, worthiness, and generosity. Over time, their subconscious identity shifts. Opportunities that were once invisible now appear. They do not just change their behavior, they change who they believe themselves to be. And life mirrors the new belief. Breaking the program is not a single act. It is a daily devotion. You become the observer of your own mind. You notice the autopilot thoughts that whisper, "You're not enough, you always fail, nothing changes." And instead of obeying, you pause, you breathe, you choose a new thought. Each pause is a crack in the feedback loop, and through those cracks, light enters. Here is the awakening. You are not the program. You are the programmer. And when you claim that truth, your subconscious becomes your ally. Instead of repeating the past, it rehearses the future. Instead of trapping you in identity, it supports the one you consciously choose to become. The subconscious was never meant to imprison you. It was meant to serve you, but only when you remember the truth. Reality does not change until identity does. And in that moment of choice, you are no longer a prisoner of the past. You are the author of the future. You have been taught to push, to grind, to force your way into the life you want. But here is the paradox. The more you chase, the more life runs. The harder you try, the more resistance you create. Effort alone keeps you trapped in the very loop you're trying to escape. Quantum physics reveals this truth in silence. Particles do not collapse into form because of force. They collapse because of observation. The wave does not respond to struggle, it responds to awareness. Consciousness, not effort, is what brings potential into reality. And here lies the gap you must learn to walk, the space between effort and surrender. Surrender is not passive. It is not giving up. It is giving over. It is the moment when you stop trying to control every outcome, and instead you align with the field of infinite possibilities. You become the observer without resistance, the dreamer without fear. Think of water. When you fight it, you drown. When you float, it holds you. The universe works in the same way. Consider a real-life example. Two people start a business. One wakes every day in fear, gripping tightly, forcing every outcome. They burn out, exhausted, because their energy is entangled with scarcity. The other works diligently, but then releases. They trust, they follow intuition, they create with joy instead of panic. And opportunities, synchronicities, and support appear that no amount of sheer force could ever summon. Both worked. But only one surrendered, and only one tapped into the quantum field. Bob Proctor once said, "Faith and fear both demand you believe in something you cannot see." Fear is effort rooted in control. Faith is surrender rooted in trust. In neuroscience, surrender shows up as coherence. When the heart and brain align, the body moves from survival to creation. Stress chemicals lower. The nervous system relaxes. In this state, your body is no longer bracing against life. It is open to it. And when you are open, the quantum field responds. This is why surrender is not weakness. It is the highest form of power, because surrender is not the absence of action. It is the absence of resistance. You are not meant to sit idly and wait. You are meant to work, then release. To plant the seed, then let the soil do its work. To speak the intention, then let the universe arrange the details. Effort moves your hand, surrender moves reality. So here is the shift. Stop trying to force the wave. Become the one who rides it. In surrender, you discover that life has always been entangled with you. You were never chasing it. You were learning how to receive it. And when you do, reality bends in ways effort could never command. You are not trapped by your circumstances. You are trapped by who you believe yourself to be. Here is the secret most never see. Reality bends not around effort, but around identity. What you think you deserve, who you think you are, the story you rehearse every morning when you look in the mirror. This is the invisible prison that holds you. The loop doesn't survive on chance, it survives on repetition. And repetition is fed by identity. The subconscious mind, as neuroscience reveals, is a prediction machine. It uses memory to generate the future. If you keep identifying as the broken one, the unlucky one, the anxious one, then your brain has no choice but to fire the same neural pathways, release the same chemicals, and summon the same life. The body follows the pattern because the pattern is familiar, and the familiar feels safe even when it hurts. This is why change feels impossible, because to change your life, you must first change yourself. Think of the double slit experiment. A particle becomes a wave of possibility until it is observed. Consciousness collapses it into one form. Identity works the same way. Who you think you are collapses infinite potential into a narrow timeline. You could be anything, but the moment you say, "This is just who I am," you collapse into limitation. Identity collapse is the art of dying before you die. It is the terrifying but liberating process of letting the old self dissolve so the new one can emerge. A real-life example. Two people both lose their job. One says, "This always happens to me. I'm a failure. I can't win." And their future collapses into that frequency, more rejection, more defeat. The other says, "Maybe this is the opening. Maybe I am no longer an employee but a creator. Maybe I am someone new now." And instantly, a different reality is unlocked. Same event, two identities, two lives. Joe Dispenza teaches that your personality creates your personal reality. Personality means how you think, how you act, how you feel. Repeated so consistently it becomes who you are. But you are not your past. You are not your trauma. You are not even your habits. These are costumes the self has worn. They can be dropped. But here is the terror. Identity collapse feels like death, because the body is addicted to the chemicals of the old self. When you stop feeding it stress, when you stop thinking the same thoughts, your nervous system panics. The brain screams, "We are dying." But you are not dying. You are being reborn. The Buddhists call this ego death. The mystics call it surrender. Quantum thinkers call it collapsing one waveform so that a new one may emerge. Different language. Same truth, so ask yourself, who do you believe you are? Not in theory, not in words, but in frequency. Do you walk like someone who is unworthy? Do you speak like someone who is defeated? Or do you carry the vibration of the one who has already arrived? Here is the shift. Stop defending your old identity. Stop rehearsing the story of your wounds. The more you cling to the prison, the longer you will stay inside. Instead, let it collapse. Let yourself dissolve. Because who you think you are is the cage. But who you choose to become, that is the key. And when the old self dies, the field opens. Possibility floods in. Life rearranges, and you discover that the prison was never locked. You only had to walk out. The most frightening place is not the prison of the past. It is the door that opens into the unknown. When you dissolve the loop, when the old identity collapses, you are suddenly standing in a space the mind has never mapped. The familiar anchors are gone. The emotions your nervous system once clung to, stress, guilt, fear, no longer dictate your rhythm. And here you are, staring at the infinite, a blank canvas of possibility. This is the paradox of transformation. You thought you wanted freedom, but when it arrives, it feels like groundlessness. The brain, wired for certainty, panics. The subconscious whispers, "Go back." At least back there you knew who you were, but if you turn back, you repeat the loop. If you stay, trembling in the unknown, you discover something greater. The quantum field is waiting for your choice. Think again of the double-slit experiment. A particle exists as a wave of infinite possibility until consciousness collapses it into one form. The unknown is the wave. It is pure potential. But it only becomes your reality when you embody the frequency of the outcome you choose. Joe Dispenza teaches this with clarity. You must feel the future before it exists. You must rehearse a new state of being until your nervous system adapts. At first, joy feels foreign. Abundance feels uncomfortable. Peace feels unnatural. Because your body is used to stress. But with practice, the unfamiliar becomes the familiar, and that is how a new timeline stabilizes. Consider this real example. Two people both leave behind toxic relationships. One feels the emptiness and rushes back, unable to tolerate the silence of being alone. They collapse back into the old pattern. The other breathes into the discomfort, allows the unknown to stretch them, and in time, discovers self-love so deep, it attracts a new kind of partner. Same event, two choices, two timelines. Here's the truth. The unknown is not your enemy. It is the only place new realities are born. The known is repetition. The unknown is creation. But how do you step into it? Not by controlling, not by forcing, but by tuning your frequency. Each morning ask, what would it feel like if I were already living the life I desire? Don't think it, feel it. Let the body learn the vibration of that future. At first, your nervous system will resist. It will crave the old emotions. But if you hold steady, if you practice long enough, the quantum field responds. New synchronicities appear. New opportunities align. Reality begins to bend. Amit Goswami calls this conscious choice, the moment you select one possibility from the infinite field. You are no longer pulled by the gravity of the past. You are propelled by the magnetism of the future self. So here is your invitation. Stop worshipping certainty. Certainty is the mask of your old identity. Instead, lean into the unknown. Sit with the discomfort. Feel the groundless space not as danger, but as potential, because the unknown is not a void. It is the womb. And the moment you learn to call the unfamiliar your home, you are no longer a prisoner of the past. You are a pioneer of the future. The greatest shift is not when you escape the loop. It is when you realize you were the one holding the projector all along. You are not a victim of the movie. You are both the audience and the director, both the witness and the writer. And this is the secret the mystics, the scientists, and the sages have been pointing to. You are the observer that collapses reality, and you are the creator that gives it form. Think back to the double-slit experiment. When particles were left unobserved, they behaved like infinite waves of probability. But the moment consciousness entered, they chose. They collapsed. They became form. The same is true of your life. Every thought, every emotion, every focus of attention is a collapse of possibility. Here's the paradox. If you only observe, you drift. If you only create, you force. But when you master both, observer and creator, you live in balance. Imagine a heated argument. One person reacts unconsciously, consumed by anger, feeding the loop. They are inside the movie, blinded by it. The other pauses, they step back, they breathe. They witness their own rising anger without drowning in it. That moment of observation collapses a new possibility, calm. And from calm, they can create a different outcome, speaking truth without destruction, choosing peace without suppression. The event is the same. The response is the reality. Joe Dispenza explains this as shifting from the program of the old self to the consciousness of the new. Observation interrupts the unconscious pattern. Creation installs the conscious one. The body learns a new frequency. The mind learns a new story. The heart learns a new rhythm. Bob Proctor taught the same principle. Awareness of the paradigm is the first step, and choosing a new paradigm is the second. Awareness without creation leads to stagnation. Creation without awareness leads to chaos. But together, they unlock transformation. And here is the deeper truth. The more you practice being the observer, the more you discover you are not your thoughts. You are not your emotions. You are not the roles, the identities, the stories. You are the awareness behind them. From that place, creation is no longer desperate. It is no longer control. It is flow. So ask yourself, what reality are you observing? What reality are you creating? If you keep focusing on what is missing, you collapse the frequency of lack. If you begin to observe abundance, gratitude, possibility, you collapse the frequency of creation. Reality follows your gaze. Amit Goswami calls this the creative act of consciousness, the moment you choose from the field, not from fear. The moment you stop reacting to life as punishment and start shaping it as mirror. This is not theory, it is practice. Every thought, every feeling, every response is a choice. You are the observer collapsing it. You are the creator shaping it. And when you master both, life is no longer random. Life is no longer a trap. Life becomes a canvas, and you are finally awake with the brush in your hand. The final illusion is not the loop itself. It is the belief that you were ever trapped inside it. You were never only the character caught in repetition. You were never just the self struggling to change the pattern. You were, and always will be, the field in which all patterns arise. And when you remember this, the fear of the loop dissolves. Because the loop was never your cage, it was your mirror. Science calls it the quantum field. Mystics call it spirit. Some call it God, some call it source. But here's the truth. It is you. Not the you of memory, not the you of personality, but the boundless awareness that sees, feels, and chooses. You are not just collapsing possibility into form. You are the infinite possibility itself. Think of the double-slit experiment one last time. The particle does not exist apart from the wave. The wave does not exist apart from the field. And you are not just the one who observes. You are the field in which the observation becomes possible. That is why, no matter how many loops you've repeated, no matter how many identities you've worn, none of it defines you. It arises within you, and within you, it can dissolve. Here is the liberation. When you live as the field, you stop fearing repetition. You stop obsessing over time. You stop needing to control, because as the field, you are timeless. You are vast. You are infinite creation unfolding in every breath. Imagine two people in the same season of life. One clings tightly, afraid of losing what they have, terrified of repeating the same mistakes. They live in contraction, always looking backward or forward. The other softens. They trust. They open their heart and allow life to move through them like music. Both encounter the same challenges, but one suffers in fear of the loop, while the other transcends it by remembering they are not in the loop. They are the field that holds it. Joe Dispenza often speaks of becoming nobody, no one, no thing, no time. At first it sounds like erasure, but in truth, it is expansion. When you dissolve the identity, when you release the timeline, you slip into the field. And from the field, creation becomes effortless. You don't force reality, you allow it. You don't chase alignment, you embody it. Bob Proctor taught that we are not physical beings having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings expressing through the physical. Living as the field is this realization embodied. You don't just shift identity, you transcend identity. You don't just break loops, you hold them all in love. And so the mirror of life no longer feels like punishment. It feels like play. Every reflection is a choice. Every moment is an invitation. Every loop is simply another way the field is showing you itself. This is where true freedom lives. Not in escaping, not in controlling, but in resting as the field that cannot be bound. So breathe, feel into this truth. You are not merely the observer, you are not merely the creator, you are the canvas, the wave, the field. And from this place you no longer ask, how do I break free? You whisper instead, how will I create now? The loop has served its purpose. The mirror has done its work. And you stand here, not bound by time, not trapped by identity, but infinite, eternal, awake. You are the field, you always were, and now you remember.